Hey, welcome, welcome. Terry Vanover here. This is our weekly Ask a Divorce Strategist Anything. And I'm going to be answering some questions that I see. Going to be, talking about topics today about healthy relationships and how to overcome some of those unhealthy relationships that maybe you didn't even know, like what it was. So, who am I? I'm Terry Vanover, and I'm a divorce strategist. I help you come through divorce without being legally, financially, and emotionally devastated. But even more importantly, I help you to heal from your divorce and unhealthy relationships that you were in so you can avoid going through another divorce. Because here's the sad reality that a lot of people don't really know that once you've had one divorce and you have a second marriage, the likelihood of your second marriage ending up in divorce is 70%. Yeah, so it's really scary. Been there, done that, and lots of my clients say the same thing. They come to me and like, oh, just to tell you the truth, this is my third divorce, or this is my second divorce. And so if that's a little secret that you're hiding and you're keeping from people, the truth is probably more than likely most of the people who are going through divorce have been through divorce before, you know. And I know why. I think because we aren't taught how to have healthy relationships, and unless we're given the tools to heal ourselves and figure out how to shift what's in us that's attracted to an unhealthy relationship or create healthy boundaries, then we're likely to repeat it, even if our ex was the worst person on the planet. We have to figure out, like, what did I miss? And again, it's not about blaming the victim. I'm not about blaming anyone. It's about like taking your power back, because once you can identify the things that to avoid or the things where you can take back your power, it's very empowering. It's a very empowering process. You don't have to be a victim to these people anymore. So it's really, really amazing when you take back your power and you get control. It is amazing. So someone had asked about like retirement. How does that work? Is retirement considered in the divorce? And absolutely, if you and your significant other, your spouse, had retirements accounts together, or he had one and maybe you didn't have one, yeah, that's considered marital property. So the length of the marriage would be a factor determined in how much you would get from that. And again, so what makes that kind of like crazy is that's almost like a separate legal process. You have to go get a quadro, you have to get legal papers that say, this is how much retirement that you're due and blah blah blah. So but yeah, that's definitely something a lot of people don't know that they should be thinking about, is retirement, looking at that retirement account and knowing how much they should get. And does depend on the length of the marriage, whether you both contributed together during the marriage and how that worked. So I also want to talk about loneliness. Someone had mentioned loneliness. I've been seeing that a lot lately in the group of women who are struggling with loneliness. And, that was really my issue. I went through a terrible divorce and I made all the mistakes that you can make. So, like I said, I am not an attorney, nor do I want to be one. Um, I went through a devastating divorce. And when I came out of it, I recognized I didn't know anything about what I just went through. I didn't know there were all these resources out there, that there were all this help, um, that there was things that I should have been doing that I didn't do, people I should have been talking to that I didn't talk to. Um, but you don't know what you don't know, and so I kind of look at what I do as kind of being the holistic navigator, helping you to understand, what your legal options are, what your financial options are, and what your mental health and what your spiritual options are, like how to overcome all that. So it's about giving you the resources and the tools so that you know that you're making the best decisions that you can make in the darkest time of your life, because I've been there and done that. And I made all the mistakes that you could make. I didn't negotiate when I probably had some opportunities to negotiate. I went through two attorneys, so I picked two shitty attorneys. Both really didn't were not great attorneys, and two failed mediations. There were, some things that, I just look back, I could have done better. I lost my home. I was homeless for a time. I lost all my financial credit because of the decisions I made with my home. And I don't want to see other people make the mistakes that I made that are going to hurt you long term, because what you're doing now, the decisions that you're making while going through your divorce, are going to be lasting decisions, forever decisions. So if we can turn around some of those mistakes now or avoid those mistakes now, that's really key in this. So that's why I do what I do. Y'all, I have been through it and seen the darkness, and I understand how difficult it is, and the stress can just, it can change you as a person. I know I look back at that woman and I was like, who the hell was she? I wasn't even myself during that time. And of course, it was all the other stuff that was going on in addition to the divorce. I lost my mom. I was hit by a van, had to have several surgeries. I mean, it was just like boom, 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 boom. The stress just kept coming and coming and coming. So, but if I had had someone to help me tap into my strengths and tap into my resources and give me some tools and some strategies for handling the stress and handling the anxiety, think I know I would be so much better off than I ended up. And that's why I do what I do. So let's talk about loneliness, because like I said, that was a huge issue for me. I was lonely both during my marriage and during the divorce. And I think that was really actually my wake up call, because during the divorce, when I was separated and I was living in some strange woman's basement at the time, single mom, I recognize, I think this is probably the only good thing I did during my divorce, was like recognizing this loneliness had haunted me during my marriage. And so it wasn't the marriage, it was me. And, now, of course, I've got all the tools and the resources to heal all that. But I recognized even at that time, I'm like, I got to stop fighting this. I got to just surrender to this loneliness. I got to stop expecting men to make me feel good about myself, because that's really the truth. I wanted to go out and date. I wanted to go out on, to clubs and dancing when my kids were with their dad, so I could get that attention, get that validation that I was okay. And I think that was the only one of the only good decisions I made, was just to sit at home crying in that basement and just surrendering to that loneliness and exploring that loneliness and letting it come up. And here's the thing, loneliness is not about being loneliness. Loneliness really is a sign that you don't love yourself, right? Because the truth was, like I was saying, I was seeking approval from men. I wanted men to give me attention because I really didn't feel like I was lovable. I had an alcoholic father who abandoned me when I was 3. So, if he can't love me, then no one could. Well, I must be unlovable. And this is all unconscious. This wasn't something that I knew at the time, but that is what I had internalized. I had internalized that I was just unlovable. And, another sign that you're struggling with this, I realize this now, like I would constantly ask for compliments and, do you love me? Do you love me? Do you like constantly questioning my husband? And, when is it enough? When is it enough compliments? When is it enough telling you I love you? 1 enough? 10 enough? 20 enough? Like, how much is enough, right? So I think if you're constantly seeking that, you've got to learn to love yourself. You've got to learn to love yourself. And when you love yourself, you don't need that external validation. I say this a lot. You can't solve internal problems with external solutions. And that's what I was doing. I wanted to it for a long time, like to go out there and seek attention from men. But the truth was, like, I knew something was broken inside of me and I needed to just like deal with it and handle it and face it, because I'd been running from it for years. And it was only until I faced it, and then obviously I got, certification and training, and now I really have explicit tools and things that I do that to help people. Look, let's handle this. Let's heal this once and for all, so it's not following you into the next relationship, and then you end up sabotaging the next relationship, right? Because when you go into relationships needy like that, needing, that's not a healthy way. I don't believe in that. Oh, marriage is 50-50. Hell no, it's 100 and 100. You need to be 100% of yourself, and you need to find a partner to be 100%. And that's the thing that people don't recognize. You attract where you are in your healing. So if you're only 75% healing, you're going to attract the mirror image of yourself in your intimate partner. So you really got to work on yourself and be the best version of yourself, so that you can have the best version of your partner that you can possibly be. So you can put up those healthy boundaries. You don't have to people please anybody anymore. You really don't. And so one of the things I also want to talk about is trauma bonds, right? And I don't know if you've heard about that, but oftentimes, if you've had a really difficult childhood like I did, right, raised by a single mom, we were very, very poor. My alcoholic father abandoned us very early on, and I don't think what little marriage they had was, what few memories I can have, was pretty toxic. And my mom struggled. She struggled. She was a young mother, 21 at the time, and so she struggled too to give me what I need. And I think many of us, have our intimate relationships. We do this unconsciously, but we choose an unconscious partner trying to heal that. And I was always looking for a father figure, give me that love and validation that I didn't get, and I was constantly in fear of being abandoned. So, some of the signs of like you trauma bond, and again, you're not going to recognize this stuff as red flags, because this is what I was just talking with I have a client, and our very first session, we like unpeeled that trauma bond like that, because he had a childhood where the mother had this cycle of abandonment, attention. And guess what? He married. And his ex-wife is the same way, would leave him and then go and find another man and come back and like love bomb him and leave him. And so by recognizing that pattern, he could break that pattern. And I gave him specific exercises and tools to break that pattern, of course, along the way, to learn how to reparent himself, give himself what he's seeking from an ex-wife who's never going to give it. His mother's never going to give it because she doesn't have the capacity to. So, but the thing is, we don't see it as a red flag. I was telling him, did you guys break up often when you were dating? And he's like, yeah. Well, you didn't see that as a red flag. That is a huge red flag in relationships, by the way. You shouldn't. If you and your significant other are breaking up a lot, that's a sign that you will not have a lasting marriage. It's one of the big signs, big red flags. But because this was his childhood, that abandonment, abandonment, affection, that's what he grew up with. So this wasn't a red flag to him. Seemed totally normal, totally natural, And some of the other signs are, I've got a list here, so I just have them in front of me. Lack of boundaries, right? And that's another one of his issues. He's constantly trying to please her. And so he did everything for her in an attempt to get her to validate him, so she wouldn't leave him, right? Abandonment is a huge thing. And oftentimes we are in relationships out of fear of abandonment rather than a healthy, happy, mutually respectful relationship. And again, he had the addictive cycles of abandonment, being chosen again. And so that played out And if you find yourself not wanting to share your true feelings and you're hiding something from your significant other, that could be a sign that you're in an unhealthy relationship, and then maybe you have trauma bonds from your childhood. Um, Denying behavior that is harmful for you. You know, you just, you know, it's amazing how people can rationalize stuff that, and if you pose it to them, like if someone said this to your sister or to your daughter, what would you do? And they see that behavior instantly, but they don't recognize it as harmful to themselves, like verbal abuse, name calling, constantly putting down, those kind of behaviors. Like, if someone did that to their daughter, it would be not acceptable, or to their sister, that would be unacceptable. But to them, that's something like, oh, well, I don't see that as a reason to leave. And another sign that perhaps you have trauma bonds are strong desire to be comforted and taken back by the person who is harming you. This is from your childhood. We want our mothers to love us. Even though my father was an alcoholic and said horrible things to me as a child, there's that desire for him to want me and love me and accept me. That's how we are. And if you're constantly in a relationship where you feel crazy, you feel like, oh, this isn't, I second guessing yourself all the time, that's a significant sign. So what can you do about that if you're recognizing, oh shit, this is me? Yeah, right? What can you do? There's some specific tools and things that I give my clients. And again, one of them, like I said in the earlier part, was surrendering, and just consciously surrendering and tapping into that emotion rather than running away from it, and exploring it and digging deep down into it. And it was only when I kind of explored that I recognized, oh, this is why I am the way that I am, because I really don't love myself. I really don't feel worthy. I really don't feel lovable. And so I've actively worked on self acceptance, self love, loving that little 5-year-old, um, and reparenting myself, so to speak, giving myself what my father and my mother didn't give me. You can't go back in time and get that, but there are some specific things that you can do to give yourself what you need now. You can give that little 6-year-old, that little 4-year-old that's inside of you that's needing something. You can give her that so that she gets what she needs and then moves on. You can mother yourself, so to speak, and heal yourself through that. Trust me, trust me. It is powerful, and it will be life changing. It will be life changing because the relationships will be changing for you. You won't be seeking validation from others, needing something from others. I'm always looking for something or seeing things through a certain filter. Once that filter's gone, you can start living life authentically, and it is amazing. So that's what I have. Like, that's how you can let go of an ex. If you're struggling with loneliness or letting go of an ex, you feel like, look, I know this guy is an asshole, but I still can't seem to get over him, or his words are still in my head. Chances are, some trauma bonding going on there, and there's some things that you need to do specifically, some specific activities and exercises that can get your power back, and you don't have to be a prisoner to your significant other anymore. You really don't. You can take back your power. You can heal yourself. Trust me. Been there, done that. And I see people transforming their lives every day. I was, okay, so I'm going to go back to that client that I was talking with today, as a matter of fact, and how far he's come in letting go of her, right? He struggled. Those trauma bonds are pretty deep. I'm not going to lie. But he has found that we've broken that, and like what we discussed today was the future, was what does a healthy relationship look like now. He's not there. He said, I don't want that right now. I'm focusing my energy on me, but at least now I'm aware and I can recognize what I want in a relationship and the boundaries I want to have in a healthy relationship going forward. But what's amazing is that other opportunities are being presented to him because his energy isn't all caught up in the drama of his ex-wife. The energy isn't caught up thinking about her or wanting her back or needing her validation or whatever it is. That energy isn't there, and he's so much more focused and productive, and opportunities are opening up to him that he never dreamed of. I was I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you. So he's like transforming his life, not just personally, he's putting up healthy boundaries with his ex-wife. I was super, like, I'm so proud of him for like standing up to her and not rescuing her, because his MO is to rescue her. And like you're getting back into that cycle, right? And so, he's finally broken that cycle of rescuing her. And now he's got the energy and the time, and the opportunities are opening up for him that are just amazing. It's just amazing to see people transform those lives from being unhappy and miserable and sad and depressed to seeing them have opportunities that he said, not only am I going to this huge massive city, my business is going into this huge massive city, but I have a plan to like take over another company. And I was like, holy shit, like we were not talking about that 6 weeks ago. So this is like huge shift in who you are as a person. So so it is amazing to see people transform their lives when you're not holding on like that, and you've let go of all that pain and let go of all that, toxicity that was holding you back. And you can be who you're meant to be. Transformation is not about changing who you are. Transformation is about becoming who you've always meant to be. He hasn't transformed who he was. He's just becoming who he's always meant to be. He was in a relationship that held him back for 20 years, and now he's becoming who he was always meant to be. And I see that every day, and it is amazing. So look, if you want me to talk about maybe something specific in your life where maybe you're being held back and you want the tools and the resources that are going to help you transform to who you're meant to be, reach out to me. I've got two complimentary sessions next week, that I put aside, where we're talk on the phone, and I'm going to give you the strategy for your specific situation and what it is that you need to get beyond that. So I'd love to talk to you. So reach out to me. I'm here for you. And if you have any more questions, please put them in the group. I'm here. I love y'all. Hope you have a great week. I will see you next week. Again, reach out to me right here on Facebook. You can send me a Facebook message, Terry Vanover, or terryvanover@comcast.net. Love to talk with you. All right, I will see y'all next week on Ask Me Anything, and we'll answer your questions, have a conversation. All right, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.